Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo Di Paola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. All right, guys, before we jump into the reports this week, we've got a really cool opportunity for you. We have partnered with AFCO, and they are offering all of our listeners a free sun protection mask with any purchase of AFCO products. They make a ton of great products for all types of anglers. All you have to do to get your coupon code is text FISHING to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, guys, we have a great Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report lined up for you this week. But first, let's take a few minutes to check out a few of this week's great sponsors. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Sportsman's Marine. Sportsman's Marine has an extensive tackle selection of anything that local anglers need for saltwater and freshwater fishing, as well as boating accessories. They have the largest selection of the slick lure in Mobile and Baldwin County. They have AFCO, Pelagic, and Saltwater Fanatics apparel along with other local brands. Go check out their Edgewater, Wellcraft, and Vexus lines of boats. They offer engine services with 5-star Yamaha and Mercury mechanics. Also, if you're looking for a street legal electric golf cart, go check out their Atric golf carts. Sportsman's Marine on Highway 98, and they also have a downtown location next to Mr. Jean's Beans in Fairhope, Alabama. And also brought to you by United Bank. United Bank knows what an important role agriculture plays in our local economy. At United Bank, they are here to support local farmers with financial products and services designed specifically for agribusiness, including real loans for farmland, equipment loans, working lines of credit, and more. Truth is, they deeply value the contributions agriculture makes to our communities, and they help our local farmers build successful businesses. They want to see you succeed. Learn more at unitedbank.com or stop by any United Bank branch. United Bank, all loans subject to credit approval, equal housing opportunity lender, member FDIC. All right, guys, welcome back to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. I am your host, Butch Theory, and I am joined today with Captain Richard Rutland as my co-host. What'd you say, Cap?
Oh man, just glad to be here. Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Down here in South Alabama, we got a nice little front coming through today, kind of anticipating some weather coming through this afternoon. And it's supposed to chill off pretty nicely. At least for a couple of days. I have been in shorts and flip-flops for I feel like the past 2 weeks.
It's been a while. Yeah. At least 2 or 3 weeks, man. It's blowing here today. It's coming hard out of the east southeast kind of. It's got the dang tide super high up in here.
Yep. Man, I guess about the past week and a half, our weather pattern has been very consistent, very light winds and freaking daggum fog every morning. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but fog is my absolute nemesis, man. I can't stand the fog. But luckily we've been fishing in all these rivers, so it's the fish they've been staying there. So that's been nice about transiting around and whatnot. You can usually kind of get on a bank and sometimes run a little bit, or if not, just idle along, from spot to spot. So anyhow, I guess we'll kind of get into my report to the inshore report about a little bit later fishing wise. But man, just really looking forward to some cooler weather.
Yeah, me too.
Gonna be real nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's Christmas time, right? It's supposed to be. It's crazy, man. The whole month of December, I'm going, it's really December. Like I'm having to get myself in the spirit for hunting and Christmas and everything. It's kind of hard whenever it's 90 degrees and you're sweating,
Yep. Have you got all your Christmas shopping done? I'm almost done with all mine early this year.
No.
Oh, you better get on it, Hoss.
I know, I better. Melissa got on me yesterday. Need to get on that. It's like, yeah, I know. That's what you're for, though. She likes spending money. I don't.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, man, yeah, you kind of alluded to it there. We're going to get the inshore report from you. Definitely looking forward to that. We have a guest offshore report, Jacob Chandler. Looking forward to getting his report. And we're going to check out a surf report this week from G2 Coastal, Jordan Gooding. Man, let's get into this thing.
Sounds good.
All right, Captain Richard, let's talk to Jacob Chandler, man. He had a really good trip offshore, and just really excited to have him on today as a new contributor. Welcome to the show, Jacob. How are we doing today?
Doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Watching it blow right now, but it's about to get chilly, and man, ready for it. I'm kind of in hunting mode. Going fishing with Captain Richard on Monday, so I guess I'll get the back end of that front. Well, that'll be interesting.
We should be hopefully hitting it right about perfect. Hopefully this little
couple days after it.
Yeah, this little shock of this cool weather, and then everything will kind of start to settle out a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll be catching some nice fish. I won't allude to too much for
That's
the
right. That's right.
for the inshore report. Yeah.
Right. Well, man, Jacob, like I said, welcome to the show. We've looking forward to getting your report and just kind of give us a little background on you and kind of how you got started and how you got, to be an offshore boat and kind of in the offshore game.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to come on here and talk about fishing. I know some of the best charter captains and guides around our area are on this podcast every week. So when you first asked me, I was nervous about doing it, but I felt like, I got to give something back, because I've gained so much from this podcast. 100%, where I'm at, my fishing ability has come from listening to this show and fishing with charter captains who've been on this show.
Man, that's awesome.
I want to thank you guys
to hear.
for that. As far as me, I've always been a fisherman. I'm up here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, bass fishing, freshwater fishing and all that. But, we would always go down to the beach and stay a week, and I'd do a little fishing while I'm down there. And so that's kind of grown. I ended up getting me a bay boat. I had an 18-foot boat, and we would fish inshore and in the bay and all that. And we'd peek out a little bit into, out there at the lighthouse and stuff when we had a chance. But always my kids, my oldest son is like, wants to go further. So, we just kind of evolved and got a bigger boat, and we could then go 10 or 15 miles. We had a 20-foot boat, and we always still wanted to peek out there further. So we finally bit the bullet and bought a new boat. Our platform is a 2800 Blue Wave. So it's like a 28-foot boat, twin 200 Suzuki's, 135-gallon fuel tank. It's what they call a hybrid, and I feel like it's a true hybrid because you have a higher hull or a deeper hull, a little bit more freeboard on the sides and a pretty good range. And I like how open it is. It sort of checked the most boxes for us because we can still fish the river up here if we want to, or play on the sandbar, or, just ride, pull a inner tube behind it, or, whatever we want to do. We've used it for everything. So it's been fantastic for us.
That's a fine rig.
We've really enjoyed having it.
That's a great platform, Jacob. I was real impressed with it. The day that I fished with you, went out on your boat and went sword fishing that day, and I was real impressed with how it handled, the fuel economy, just the overall layout was very nice. Kind of like you said, it's a nice all-in-one package for sure.
Right.
Yeah, checks a lot of the boxes. I like that. I like a Blue Wave. I love Patrick's. I've never been on the bigger one. I've been on them, but not on the water. I've just been walked around them. But I love Patrick's. It's a very stable platform, like you say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when we kind of narrowed it down, that's what I did. I went and I found a captain that had ran a charter business that had the same boat, and then I chartered a trip with him, and that was how I tested out the boat. Was I went on a trip with somebody who had one, and I liked it, and we ended up making a deal on one, and the rest is history on that. But, I've always been a real safe person and stuff like that. So when we want to go looking to doing these offshore and run offshore and everything, of course I have all my stuff that makes me legal, my life jackets, my throwable and all that stuff. But I do have a 4-man life raft. It's kind of like a suitcase sized life raft we have on the boat. And we also have an E-Perb, and those things, they just give me a good peace of mind because, I'm kind of a nervous person, and I look out for the safety of my kids and all that on the boat. It just puts me better at ease being out there.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the cost of everything else, just to have that peace of mind and to know that if something happens that you're covered.
Yeah, and there's been several of those stories here recently. I know a big boat out of Dauphin Island sunk not too long ago, and then there was like a smaller center console that sunk. I think that person got hit by a barge or something in that smaller center console.
Jesus, that's rough.
Something like that offshore, and then I just happened to be looking at Kurt Tillman's social media this morning. They found a T-top floating around.
That's
like
scary.
An intact T-top, like it'd been ripped off of a hull, floating around. So, man, you just never know what's going on all the time out there. But yeah, you can never be too prepared with having a life raft and E-Perb and all that kind of stuff, man, because it's a lonely place out there.
No doubt.
Floating in the water,
Yeah. It's a place where I do not want to be.
Yeah.
I always start off, when I'm planning a trip, first thing I'm doing is looking at the weather. Next thing I'm doing is looking at Windfinder Pro, and I look at the NOAA website for the data buoy information, and I'm making sure all that stuff lines up first. I make sure the following days are still good too, if for some reason I'm out there. So I do a lot of planning and all that stuff because I don't want to get in a bad situation. But anyway, yeah,
I think that's wise.
It's a great boat.
Good, man. Well, we had some great weather here before this week. We had some great days. I know Adam Peoples got out and he smashed some fish. He's giving a good report on the Northwest Florida Fishing Report this weekend. But man, tell us a little bit about your offshore trip. Kind of let's start offshore. I know you guys did a variety of things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the trolling spread on that boat a little bit. What are you running on there?
We took off this week. It's been super foggy. The weather was great. It was warm and flat seas, but it was super foggy. We were leaving out in the morning at 5 o'clock in the dark, using the radar. I even, called Brandon Collier, talked to him a little bit about it, 'cause I know he'd been out in it and everything. So we run out, left out of Orange Beach, and we'd run out. I go out to the ledge and hit the elbow and some of that 100-fathom curve, and we start out and drop our spread out. I run 5 lures off the back. We took no bait, no live bait, no dead bait, all artificial. We actually run on our outside rig. It's a directional bird. I don't have outriggers on my boat. So to circumvent that, we run these directional birds on the outside rigs, and they'll actually pull out probably 30, 40 foot wide off the boat, depending on how far you let them out. And then we run the 2 flat lines, usually, like a resin head or a mold craft or whatever like that. And then I run, one way back. They'll have like a small bird, small bullet on it. That's pretty much my go-to spread as a, young fisherman without, tons of experience. I just talk to people, ask people. I listen to this podcast and watch YouTube videos and kind of see what everybody else does and try to, figure it out for myself. And that's been great for us. But anyways, we got out and we fished that edge and didn't have a whole lot of luck. So I pick up and run. We'd drop the spread, fish another hour or so, not a whole lot of luck. And then we finally went to a third spot and the fish were there. Yellowfin tuna, blackfin tuna, mahi. We caught a pretty wide range of fish. We ended up the second morning, we caught one wahoo went 60 pounds, another 40, another was 30. And I don't know what it is, but it always seems like when we first get there and we first put the baits out, if it's going to happen, it happens in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's usually the best.
That's funny. That's about right. You know what I mean? Like inshore, offshore, the whole, it's usually if it's going to be one of those kind of days, it usually happens pretty daggum quick. I know that's exactly how it goes when we go out there sword fishing. A lot of days, man, as soon as you get that sacrificial
first
weight
drop,
off,
as soon
man,
as you get on the bottom,
that rod tip starts wiggling around, you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Or you don't get a bite all day long until it's time to come home.
Right.
But that's funny how that goes sometimes, man.
We did. We had 2 marlin bites. The first one come up on a flat line, nosed it a little bit. We dropped back, picked it up for a second. My son engaged the spool, and it was kind of over with just about as soon as it started. But it was still, anytime that happens, it's just so much excitement. And then we move, and like I talked about in that first 5 minutes, we moved over actually to one of the fads, and there was another boat already there. So we're kind of working around the fad, and 5 minutes after the baits go in the water, we got a white marlin comes up, and he's nosing everything, going from one bait to the other. And I drop one back, and he picks it up and just takes off. And I give him a few seconds, and I bring the drag up, and then, man, he's just tail walking between me and the other boat that was already there. Awesome scene. He's just going across the top of the water like crazy. And we sort of slowed the boat down a little bit, kept it tight and everything, and he'd come up again and throw the hook. And I guess he didn't know he was unhooked yet because he still just left there jumping like crazy across the top of the water between me and the other boat. So it was awesome, fantastic to see. Hey, we didn't get it, but just to have the opportunity was awesome.
Yeah, just to see that fish is epic.
Yeah. And then we ended up we went back to the area where we had done so good on the wahoo earlier that morning. And we put the same spread out, but we ended up taking one of the flat lines off one of the top waters and put one of the diving plugs, the Nomad, 40, 50 foot diving plug. We put it on, and, again, right there in the beginning, we catch another wahoo, and I don't know, he was, somewhere 30, 35 pounds probably. So, but I mean, it was really, really good. It was very diverse, caught a little bit of everything. I think we hit for the cycle on tuna, blackfin, yellowfin, skipjack tuna, bonita. I don't know. There's not too many more I believe you can catch, I guess. Bluefin, big eye, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's been a bunch of those big eyes out there too, way, way, way out of there. I know Adam's been crushing them.
Yeah.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I've been seeing it. I'm already thinking of how I'm going to put extra fuel on the boat and do it overnight when it's flat and stuff and we have warm weather sometime. I want to go out there further.
Yeah.
Do some of that.
Got to have a bigger boat. Got to get you another one, right?
Yeah, everybody says just get one bigger than what you think you need. And
yep.
I love my boat, but I'm already like, golly, I wish I could go out there where I see these pictures, 200-pound tunas. I'm like, oh, I want part of that,
Yep, it's definitely you get ate up with it, man. It gets in your blood, and it's like you were talking about on Monday. There's nothing like it, man. And whenever you go out there and like you say, seeing that marlin, and man, imagine if that thing was 700 or 800 pounds, Yeah.
Did y'all catch some dolphin as well?
We did. We caught some dolphin. I guess that slipped my mind. There was one day I was out there. Sometimes I have the hardest time finding people that can leave work and go. But this time of year you get that window. I had to get there, but the first day I was out there, I had one guy with me, and there was times when we had 4 reels going off and 2 guys on the boat. All I could do is just put it on autopilot and let the boat, just idle in one general direction, and we'd do the best we could, but usually, a couple of them's going to get off, It's just not enough people to reel handles.
That's right, not enough deck hands.
Yeah,
you're gonna have that every now and again. But man, that sounds like an epic trip.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have.
Did you notice any one color outperforming another color while you were out there? Especially looks like you had some good, good success on those wahoo.
Wahoo and dolphin.
Was there any color?
I sure did. I actually, for whatever reason, black and orange was it.
I like black and orange.
Mr.
T is one of my favorite black and orange lures. Mr. T.
What is that?
Yeah,
man, we've pulled it for years and years and years. I don't even know who makes it.
and it was across the board, not just the wahoo wanted black and orange. We caught mahi, tuna, everything. That black and orange bait caught 70% of the fish.
That's interesting.
There's going to be some tackle stores about to make a bunch of money off of you on that black and orange, and maybe I guess the rest of our listeners, man.
That's right.
Everybody going to be going after that. I like it.
Yeah, it's always good whenever you can pinpoint a color, though. I mean, that's a good thing to have in your arsenal always.
Yeah.
Black and orange is a staple. What? Purple and black, blue and white, pink and white. I would say pink and white and blue and white. I don't know. Black and orange is up there too.
The first time I ever put that lure in the spread, we dropped it back, and within just a few minutes, we have a sailfish come up. This is a different trip, but we have a sailfish come up and grab it. And I mean, that thing's been money ever since. I got to thank Chris Veche for that.
Yep.
Come by Sam's one morning at 5 o'clock, and I told him, how many 4 of the best baits you got on the counter? They were sitting there waiting on me at 5 a.m. And, a couple hours later, I had one in a sailfish's mouth. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That is awesome. What about deep dropping, man? You guys did some slow pitching, if I'm not mistaken?
We did. I'm not as versed on it. We got all the gear for it and want to learn more about it. So what I was doing is try to leave in time to where I could stop back by the ledge. I was pretty deep. We were in, around 300 foot of water. I used my Garmin relief shading. I didn't have any particular spots. I just looked for something that was a good natural bottom. And then once I got over something I thought looked good, I would, look at my sonar and try to find some fish. And then that's where we would drop the trolling motor, put it on anchor and go to slow pitch fishing. And we did pretty good at that. We caught some scamp grouper. We caught some big beeliners. I actually caught it was a blackfin tuna on the bottom. That was strange because
that's a fight 300 foot down.
Yeah, most of the grouper, you come up 100 foot or so, they start to play out, once they get up in the water column. But then, that tuna, that didn't happen. I mean, it was crazy from the bottom all the way back to the top. So that was fun. I mean, I hadn't done it a lot. And then another thing, like what we used when we would come in and do that for a few hours before we come on back, we had one of those descending tools, the like weighted release aid. So when the grouper would come up, they weren't big enough to keep, we'd clip that thing on one of the 50 wides and just send them back down to the bottom, because I'm just kind of afraid if I vent one or whatever, I might do something wrong. I didn't want to mess up with that. So that was pretty cool. I was getting to use it because I hadn't used it before, and man, it did a great job. We send it back down, reel back up. And so
that's awesome.
That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, we had a couple of great days, and man, it really just lit a fire. My son coming home, he likes fishing these high school bass tournaments, and he looked at me and said, "Daddy, I like bass fishing, but darn, I love saltwater fishing." So I said, "Yep, I'm same way, buddy. I'm the same way. I do that for him, but man, the saltwater fishing's where my heart really is."
Yeah, it definitely gets in your blood.
Yeah, you can't raise one of your kids to grow up to be a bass hole, right?
Yeah. I feel like I have this bass boat that I keep up and have to have the greatest and latest electronics on, but my heart is not there. I want to be at the coast.
Yeah. Yep, I know what you mean.
I have all that for him.
Yeah. Well, man, whenever you guys went out offshore, before you guys got to the fads, how did you know where you were going? Did you get a report, or are you checking a satellite imagery, or what was your strategy?
I do look at Hilton's. I look at that satellite imagery. I try to find if there's a good break of clean water. I look at the chlorophyll reports and look at a good image, but I really didn't have anything. It was just kind of scattered. There wasn't like a really hard line that I was looking for. So I basically, on that trip, I was just trying to get out there on that ledge, get to that 80 to 100 fathom curve is where I started, and I would try to work that back and forth. So I knew it was in, pretty good water, but I typically try to find a hard break, but I didn't find one that day. I just kind of went to a place that we'd had luck before, and some of these well-known areas, and started out there. And I kept moving. I mean, we would fish an hour or two, and it was nothing. An hour or two here, nothing. And then finally, you get in the right spot. One of the things I thought was odd is I've been out there before and see flying fish everywhere and can't catch anything. On the 2 days that I was out there, I probably saw a dozen flying fish the whole day. So here I am, have a great fishing trip, and I don't see any flying fish. So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. Some people feel like they can't start fishing if they don't see them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely seen it go both ways on that.
Right.
When you say you're making some moves there, how big of moves are you making? What was like? Were you making like 20-mile moves or 5-mile moves or? Yeah,
we were making 4, 5, 8-mile moves. Stuff that with it so flat we could run quick. So it was easy to do. It was easy to bounce around like that with it. Such calm seas and everything.
Man, on those wahoo, did you find a particular speed? Were you guys slow trolling or fast trolling? Was there a magic speed for those dudes?
We try to consistently stay somewhere in that 7 to 8 mile an hour range. When we started catching wahoo, I bumped it up. Sometimes I might have been a little over 8, but we kind of tend to stay right in there, that 7 to 8 mile an hour range.
Just keep them in your normal spread.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I like it, man. Well, that's an awesome report.
Yep, that is an awesome report, man. We really appreciate you coming on here and talking to us. It's such a cool story.
Yeah, like I said, I totally appreciate you guys having me, because, man, I love the podcast. It's my hour each week to kind of, forget about everything. And even if I can't be down there, I can, it just makes me feel good to listen to it. And there's so many awesome people that come on here and give their accounts every week. For me, just an average Joe listener, weekly listener, to get to come on here, I feel like I've been called up to the big leagues,
Oh man, that's awesome.
Man.
We really appreciate that.
Butch, that might be a thing, man. We'll have an average Joe once a month or something like that.
I like it.
That's
I love
neat,
it, man.
I've enjoyed this a lot. This is
me too.
Fun.
I mean, that's why we started this thing. Honestly, to be totally transparent, that's why we started this thing. We wanted to help you guys be better fishermen. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's definitely done that for me. 100%. I mean, no doubt about it. It's from listening to the podcast or either fishing with captains like Richard and Patrick and all who learned so much from them, who I found on the podcast anyway. So
Yeah, and that's awesome. We appreciate it. And man, next time you have a great trip, have to get that report from you, man. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You guys take care. Enjoyed it.
Too, buddy. Be safe out there. Man, that was an awesome offshore report from Jacob Chandler. You guys take a quick break and check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That offshore report was brought to you by Admiral Shellfish. Admiral oysters are available at select restaurants and can also be purchased by the public at Bon Secours Fisheries, Inc. and Ahi Seafood in Fairhope, Alabama. Call for availability. From a simple, nutrient-dense appetizer at home or a shucking party with friends, Admiral oysters will steal the show. Follow their adventures on Instagram at Admiral Shellfish Co. And also brought to you by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. Often when a business is small, you miss the professionalism you get with larger companies. That's not the case with Fortified Roofing Pros. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. Well, man, what's been going on in the inshore game? We running out of daylight here quicker. Days seem like they're getting shorter.
Yeah, it's definitely getting short. The days are definitely getting shorter. I could notice that because I always like start leaving at the same time.
Yeah.
And I've been leaving at 6. I'm about to have to back it up to about 6:15, 6:30. It's still dark at 6. Yeah. I guess get to sleep in a little bit.
That's right. That's nice.
And then of course it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock. Here comes sunset. You don't have that long of a day. No. It's kind of what makes it challenging about going offshore fishing right now is you have such a short daggum day. You're leaving in the dark and coming back in the dark if you're going a long way.
Yeah.
Like sure. on a day trip anyway, But man, inshore fishing's been great here recently. We're on this what we call warm-up periods for wintertime. It's a warm-up, and I usually kind of despise the warm-up periods, but this has been a good one. The fish are staying good and active. They are spread out kind of all over the place, like in each system, you know what I mean? If you're talking about the tidal rivers, which is where we're doing most of our fishing right now, they are spread out. They are very scattered, so on days when I've got some good tidal movement or wind movement, not really putting the power poles down a lot and getting on a bunch of hammer bites where you're sitting in one spot and catching 6 or 10 fish at a time, but you're steadily getting bit, as you're moving through some of these areas and whatnot. And that's what's been a lot of fun about it. We had the slick lure boys down, Greg Sample and Scott Corley came down last week. They fished with Patrick and I, and Greg even fished in the Battle of the Grubs tournament, the first one, with Scott Elsie. And they were almost competitive. They were kind of right there, real close to placing. So I was real proud of them.
Heck yeah.
They came down and we had a lot of good success. They that new junior has been definitely a hit. Really been liking fishing that thing on it's been good under a popping cork, like on a 16th ounce jig head. Mm-hmm. That's about the lightest jig head I think you can get. You can get a 32nd ounce. I don't even know what good that's doing.
Right, just put a hook on there. Just put that sucker on a hook.
Yeah. But I've a 16th or an 1/8 ounce is what I've been using under a cork a little bit, and that's been great. And I really like that swamp thing. I can't say enough about that swamp thing color. I tell you, it looks really pretty in your hands, but man, when you drop it in the water and look at it on the side of the boat,
sucker lights up.
It lights up in the water. Yeah. And I don't know if that's what's happening to the fish or whatever, if they're really seeing that thing light up like that. But man, I really like that color. The sandlapper's been great. And then of course, all your other heavy hitters like the cool beans and the goblin have been awesome. And the croaker color. I tell you what, that croaker is probably out of all the colors that they made over the years, the croaker and the cool beans. I think if you had to tell me to pick two,
me too. Yeah,
those are two of my
very consistent producers.
Yeah, and the croaker. I mean, I've watched like with the cool beans before. I watched old Joey Landrenew, the creator of the slick lure. I watched him catch a bunch of fish on the cool beans, in water that you couldn't see 3 inches in. You know what I mean?
Well, that one day that me, you, Joey, and Captain Bobby went wading.
Yeah. Yep.
We smashed him on the west end, and we went over there to the bridge. To the bridge, and he had the Slick Junior prototype on Cool Beans, and we couldn't see our hand 6 inches below, and he whooped our butts.
I know. That's
that was fun. That was a fun day.
Very versatile colors, which is kind of neat.
Whenever you're throwing the Slick Junior not under a popping cork, are you still rigging it on a jig head?
Yeah. So I'm either putting it on an 1/8 ounce or a 1/4 ounce jig head. I tend to like the lighter ones, and it's when we're talking about fishing in the tidal rivers.
Right.
I did go into the Mobile River yesterday and was doing some of that deep water, like 20, 25 foot of water jigging, and I switched over to a 3/8. But I'm really liking rigging it up on a swim bait hook. Now, I don't think we really got the hook licked just yet. Like if you're throwing the regular slick, the big slick, and you're not using an owner beast 4/0 hook, you're totally messing up, in my opinion. That is the hook for that lure. And so we've been experimenting with the hook a little bit, and it looks like there's the Berkeley Fusion hook, swim bait hook has been good. I think that comes in an 1/8 ounce or a 3/16 ounce size. And then there's, you got some right there. Yep. And then I'm trying to think of the other name of the other hook. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah. There's a couple of them that work pretty good.
It'll come to me. But Greg said, they sell them on the Slick site. It's a neat lure, man, to watch in the water. When you're kind of twitching it around, it gets even more side to side and crazy all over the place than the big slick does. I think the big slick still is moving more water and attracting more attention to itself. But I tell you what I've kind of noticed is, I think when the fish kind of get on pogies, they're really, especially speckled trout, get on those pogies, they're really honing in on that little smaller size profile that the junior has. And I think you'll see yourself having a lot more success when they're starting to feed on that versus, the big slick. I still think the big slick can kind of resemble a pogie to a degree, but it's definitely a mullet pattern.
Yeah. Do you work the junior the same way you work the big slick?
Almost exactly the same way. You can actually, I've been a little bit more aggressive with it because it for whatever reason, it wants to stay down pretty good on the hook I've been using. It's a I think it's a Hayabusa hook.
I know the Hayabusa makes one that's just like that Fusion.
Yeah, that's the one I've been using. I think it's in a 3/0 size, and they make several different weighted versions of that, anywhere from a 16th to an 1/8 ounce. And it's been a lot of fun. One thing I have been doing with that Hayabusa hook is I'm not real crazy about their screw lock that goes into the nose of the plastic. So I've stolen a couple of the owner screw locks.
Yeah.
And put those on the Hayabusa.
Making a Franken hook.
Yeah, well, you can order those. I guess they've got 3 different sizes, but it's a medium screw lock pin that owner makes, and you can order those in 5 or 10 packs or something like that. So that's what I've done, is ordered some of those, and as soon as I'm getting them, I'm swapping them out on those Hayabusa hooks. So because the other one, man, I've just seen it pull out. It's a real light gauge wire, and it only kind of, I don't know, it's
just works.
I feel bad about talking bad about a company, but I just don't like it. It's not for me. For that screw lock, but the owner ones are great. So I've been putting those in there, and they've been working great. But still catching a lot of flounder on those jokers too, man. That ice candy has been a fun color that it's kind of got the opening night with the pink tail on the back end of it.
Y'all still been doing pretty good on the flounder?
Oh yeah, they're around every just about every
typical places.
Yeah, every trip in any system I've been going to, I've been catching a flounder every time. Caught them in Mobile River yesterday in 25 foot of water.
That's awesome.
I just kind of went in there and messed around for a little while by myself, and it was not surprising, but it was kind of like, oh man, cool.
This is fun.
It's still here, yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, talking about fishing for those speckled trout in these tributaries and tidal rivers, is anything giving the fish away right now? Or are you just using your electronics or going to old trusties, or what's your strategy this time of year?
It's definitely just finding, same old, I guess. Find the feed, find the fish, looking for those mullet around. I tell you, it's so weird, man. Sometimes you'll go in these systems and it's so funny how they'll really be lit up some days and they're just almost dead as hammer the next, as far as like your surface activity. Like I know last week I was fishing in Dog River, and man, you could have walked across the bait on Thursday in Dog River. Like there was pogies flickering around everywhere, little minnows, kind of all up like little rain minnows all on the surface, mullet jumping everywhere you went. Of course, the fishing was really good that day too. And then you go in there on Saturday or Saturday and Monday, I went in there and like the bait activity was almost non-existent. Like the surface activity, the fish jumping.
Was the fishing still good?
Oh yeah, the fishing was still real good, and it got better. It got better throughout the day. Of course, we're dealing with that fog and all that stuff. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, but
maybe.
Definitely wanting to, just that's always a great starting place, is to find some mullet jumping and some pogies flickering around right all in the same area, usually real good. And paying attention to some of the bird activity and whatnot around will kind of give away some of that as well. They can see that stuff a lot better than we can.
Yeah, for sure.
So you see some terns or some pelicans hovering around in an area, there's
something
even,
over there.
Yeah, even if they're not diving on stuff, there is some life in that area because they'll starve to death if they aren't eating. So,
yep, for sure. About redfish, been targeting them or incidentals or anything in that?
I have had arena? a lot of incidentals on redfish lately. I did go down to the south end in Portersville Bay and did real well. I think early last week I went down there one day, I think on Monday, and had a real great trip catching them on spoons and popping corks.
That's fun
down there. And then I've caught a handful of oversized redfish like in Dog River last week, but I've also heard plenty of reports from Fowl and West Fowl and from up in the Delta. So red fishing seems to have been really good. I've not had a day like where I've set aside and done nothing but redfish. I hadn't had that opportunity to go do that, but it's been, as far as I can tell, listening to the reports and whatnot, what everybody's doing, it's been great. Really good.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah,
sounds like we need to do
that. Yeah, I guess you said we're going on Monday, so
heck yeah, actually might be an option.
Maybe go get after it.
That'd be fun.
But I tell you, I always say this too, kind of getting back to the trout fishing thing, because that's what I'm wound up about right now is I'll always, and everybody needs to put this in their notebook. I don't know why, but about the second week of December every year. So I'll just say from about the December 10th to about December 16th, that window. And I know the fish don't have a calendar, and we talk about that every year, and this year it even proved true when we've had this hot summer or hotter summer springtime weather, we'll call it, catching a really big giant fish this time of year. I don't know what it is where they just get real fired up right there about like I said, about the second week of December. Caught a 25-incher the other day, probably almost 6 pounds on my boga grip.
Wow.
In that and we saw some real nice fish come in the Battle of the Grubs tournament. A couple of guys had some fish that were close to 5 pounds, and one had, I think the lunker was just under 5, but and then I talked to another captain that caught a real big one down in the Industrial Canal the other day, about a 26-inch fish. So that they just seem to get on the chew. You want to chase a giant. That's
the time of year to do it,
man. The second week of December ish time frame has been money for me the past several years. I guarantee if you go back and look at my tag books, what I've tagged over the years, there's always been some 24 to 26-inch, 27-inch fish always get caught right around then. It's a good time. We're still kind of in this period, and about to get this little shot of cold weather. I really expect to see it even get better. And what's just going to happen with this cold weather is going to bunch some of these fish up.
But I was going to ask if you had any. I know it's going to be changing a bunch. I mean, it's
right.
80. I mean, it's going to be down, I think, this weekend in the 40s for several days and into next week. Kind of what do you anticipate, and kind of what made the difference? I guess it doesn't really matter. It's going to change, but
yeah, well, that and all that's going to, kind of just in short, the way I look at the the wintertime fishing this time of year in these tidal rivers is you got two things that affect the fish the most. Is going to be freshwater, like rainfall, drainage going into them, and then either warm or cold, and what generally happens is cold weather usually makes them go up the rivers. Fresh water makes them come down the rivers, and then heat makes them spread out.
Right.
So those are kind of I guess you got three components there. Either warm up or cool down, and then salinity. So those are the things that you got to think about. And the way I kind of think about it is you've got in each river, you've got like about a 1 mile section in each river where the majority of the life is going to be, but there's also going to be I almost have like a dead zone that I can kind of ride in my head going up river, and another down, another dead zone. And then you'll have something else down river, so it's not, you can't go off of that 100%, strictly off of that 100%. That you only need to be fishing 1 mile of each river, you know what I'm saying? But that's how I kind of view it to a degree. Is with cold's going to push them up,
And deeper, probably, right?
Fresh water is going to bring them down, and then the heat's going to make them spread out when it gets hot. So they're just going to spread out. When they spread out like that, it's stay on the move, and that's what we've been doing lately, staying on the move, not sitting in one spot too long, because they've been hungry. They've been biting if you get around some fish. So that's been pretty neat.
Maybe this cold, hopefully the salinity doesn't get too jacked up from this front. I don't think we're going to get that much rain from it. It seems like it's moving pretty quick. I know they're calling for severe stuff, but hopefully it just blows through. I don't think it's going to be a ton of rain. I hadn't looked for the rainfall predictions or whatever, but
right,
it'll get on out of here and hopefully just have the good stuff. The cold weather, drop the temperature a little bit and bunch those fish up.
Right. Best I can tell just from looking at the radar today, it looks like there is a fair amount of upstate rain. So I would look to see the, like the Alabama River and all that kind of make a jump.
Berry steam plant.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be enough to make berry rise, but you will, even though you don't see berry steam plant rise, so fresh water is still going to come down. That's why I'm looking at those rivers up there, like in Leroy and Jackson and all that kind of stuff. Up the system a little ways, that stuff will still come down. But generally speaking, it's got to be a pile of local rain to really, really jack up some of the
flush out these tidal rivers.
Yeah. And some of them clean up a lot quicker than others. So that's something to kind of take note of after these rains. Some of them, they're all going to get a little bit dirty, and then some of them just pop right back, and then other ones don't. So it just takes a little bit of time.
That's right. Get in there and figure it out.
That's it.
Man, that's a great report, Captain Richard. If folks want to get up with you and kind of fill some of your wintertime bookings, I'm sure you got some in January and February. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Man, check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and then find me on my website, coldbloodedfishing.com.
Awesome, man. We always appreciate the report, Cap. All right, folks, that was an awesome inshore report from Captain Richard Rutland with Cold Blooded Fishing. Guys, take a quick break and check out a few of this week's sponsors. That inshore report was brought to you by Ricciardone Family Dentistry. You're going to need a good dentist, so you may as well make an appointment with fellow angler Josh Ricciardone. He provides services for all ages and accepts most dental insurances. Do not let an achy tooth ruin a day on the water. Call today to book an appointment at 251-342-6672. And also brought to you by Photonis Defense. Photonis Defense is proud to offer the PD Pro line of night vision systems. The PD Pro series is the world's smallest and lightest night vision goggles built around the Photonis 16mm filmless 4G image intensifier tubes in their hybrid filmless 18mm image intensifier tubes. These ultra-light, ultra-compact night vision systems deliver cleanest images, best resolution, smallest, most transparent halo, and best overall performance and function of any night vision system available. The PDR Pro line consists of the PD Pro M 16mm monocular, the PD Pro B 16mm binocular, and the PD Pro Q panoramic night vision system. Photonis Defense, masters of darkness. All right, Captain Richard, these surf reports have been hard to come by, man. It's been interesting in the surf, I know, but we got Jordan Gooding with G2 Coastal on the show today. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What's been going on, man? What's been the story in the surf?
Well, I mean, we're getting into those colder months, and the surf fishing can really slow down, but there's still plenty of opportunities if you're out there enough.
What have you guys been seeing the last couple of days?
Oh, well, just a couple of days ago, I found a nice little pocket of pompano, so that's always a plus, especially in the wintertime.
So on those pompano, man, kind of, has it been a live bait game? What's been going on there?
I don't use a whole lot of live bait, especially in the wintertime, but when I do use live bait, it's going to be ghost shrimp. Just during the wintertime, ghost shrimp is just the king of baits. It's just the food source of choice for most fish during the wintertime.
Those pompano, they've been closer to the beach. You've been finding some cuts. You've been, casting really far out. What was the ticket that day you crushed them?
Right now, we've got the low tides in the morning, so there's not a whole lot up close. I mean, there are some deep spots up close to the beach, but you're better off targeting out in the deeper water farther away from the beach. Monday, the tide was super low, and I actually was able to find kind of like a little island out there. So I took all my stuff out there, tried one cut. It just didn't happen in that cut. So I decided to check out another one that was even further out. It was probably a good couple hundred yards off the beach, and I wouldn't have even been able to fish it at that little island had it been out there. But there was just that big, deep cut, big, deep pocket out there, and those pompano were just stacked up in it.
That's awesome, man. Was that a cut that you had fished before, or is it just happenstance, or was it an old trusty hole? Kind of, how'd you find the fish?
100% luck. I just
That's not always bad.
No, man. I tell folks all the time. Well, I say all the time, but doing my inshore game, I can't tell you how many times I just land on some fish, like kind of in a spot I've never fished before, or just kind of saw the signs, like they were just like billboards up over there, like, oh, hey, we're over here, and do that. But man, that's always just tickles me to death when you catch fish in a place you've never caught them before, or never expected to catch them and whatnot. I don't know why, but that just tickles me to death.
It's a double win. Yeah, you caught them and you tricked them.
Oh yeah, and you found a new spot. That's right. The big thing. Found a new spot.
Yeah. Add it to the list.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the other day, were you getting them on bait, or were you using artificial?
I was using fresh dead shrimp and fish gum. That is my go-to most of the time for surf fishing. Fish gum and fresh dead shrimp.
Well, cool.
What else has been in the surf? What else has been showing up?
There's still lots of whiting in the surf, but for some reason, you have to be right on them right now. For some reason, like not every little spot is holding whiting. Like it used to be that way. It used to be you could just throw wherever and catch whiting, but now you pretty much kind of have to move around in those little slightly bit deeper areas, and then you'll either be on whiting or it's a ghost town. There's almost no in between. They're either loaded or nothing right now.
Probably that dadgum Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report telling everybody where the fish are. There's no dadgum whiting around anymore, huh?
I wouldn't mind if they put a limit on whiting, to be honest. I'd be okay with that.
Because literally when they're biting, you can level off a cooler with them jokers, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen people just keep every single whiting they catch. I'm like, man, you can leave some and catch them next time if you want. But, I mean, to each their own.
What's the water clarity been like?
It's actually been fairly clear lately. Very, very minimal grass. Past couple times I've been out, I've not found any grass whatsoever. I mean, the past couple of days we've had some pretty good. Well, I guess yesterday. What did it say? I can't even remember what day it is. Yesterday, the surf got rough. So the next couple of days it should calm down and level out a little bit. But overall, the conditions of the surf have been fairly decent.
Yep. Awesome. I believe going forward, I just kind of glanced at the long range forecast going forward to look and see what this front was going to do. It looks like it's going to blow a little bit out of the northwest tomorrow, I believe. 10 to 15 is what I saw for Mobile Bay. And then it looks like it's going to drop back down to like 5 to 10 out of the north all the way through the weekend, I believe is what I was seeing. So it's going to get pretty consistent again, like it has been consistently hot. Hopefully it'll stay a little bit consistently cooler with that little bit of north breeze coming down. Should make for some real nice beach.
Real nice.
Yeah, with that light north wind, it ought to be great.
That's a great point.
The only thing we kind of have against us going forward here is going to be we're going to run into a nip tide for too long, I believe. But So we won't have a lot of tidal movement for a day or two. But if I remember right, we're supposed to have some giant tides right before Christmas. Is what I think I was seeing on the tide chart.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I don't usually check the tide chart until like the day of I'm going fishing. That's not something I pay a whole lot of attention to because most of the time I fish every morning, regardless if it's low tide or high tide. So
right.
Do you
Yeah,
think?
I'm with you too on that. You know, it's really
Gotta go.
Yeah. When you're going all the time, going for doing it for a living, you know what I mean. You're going regardless.
exactly.
Historically speaking, do you think that this cold front, getting colder and kind of dropping the temperatures, do you think that's going to be better for surf fishing or worse?
It's going to make it worse. It's once the water temperature drops below like 60, I mean, it's a flip of a coin if you're going to get a single bite all day. The fish just move out to deeper water and it just becomes super difficult at times.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, man. Only one way to find out. Got to go.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had fantastic days and I thought it'd be terrible, but I mean, if you're not out there fishing, you'll never know. So you got to get out there and at least give it a shot.
And catch them on the couch. That's a fact, Cap.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm just peeking at the tides here for everybody that's listening. We are going into a slight nip. Looks like starting Friday the 16th, 17th, coming out of it the 18th, and then starting the 19th through next weekend. We've got some of the biggest tides of the year. Some of these days we're having 1.7, 1.8 foot of movement. So we're about to have some giant tides. And we're hitting, it looks like I'm just looking at the tide calendar here, the state calendar. The winter solstice is on the 21st, so I'm assuming that's got something to do with I don't know what the winter solstice is. Maybe somebody can inspire us, but
yeah,
I'm not that smart.
Yep, I skipped astronomy in college, so
right. Oh man, that's funny. Well, Jordan, we appreciate the report, man. That's a good report. If folks want to get up with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
You can Google me at G2 Coastal. You can look me up on Facebook at G2 Coastal. You can YouTube me at G2 Coastal. If you type in G2 Coastal, you're going to find me.
Awesome, man. We appreciate the report, man. We look forward to hearing from you next time, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, that was a great onshore report from G2 Coastal. You guys take a quick break and check out a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Mallard Bay. MallardBay.com is the Airbnb-style marketplace for discovering and booking your next guided hunting and fishing adventures. The Mallard Bay platform was built by sportsmen for sportsmen. Their mission is to help expand access to affordable and successful hunting by connecting you with verified outfitters across the United States. You can browse trips and prices by state or species, select the dates you'd like to go, message outfitters, and secure your dates all from one platform, MallardBay.com. Not sure where you want to go yet? Reach out to them on Instagram or Facebook, and they can help you find your dream hunt. And also brought to you by L&M Marine. L&M Marine has something for everyone from small hunting boats, pontoon boats, to bigger bay boats and offshore hybrids. L&M Marine LLC prides itself on its customer service and knows how important it is to have someone you can trust and to be taken care of. They are locally owned and regularly support the community. L&M Marine provides superior customer service and has an entire team that consists of professional sales members, finance experts, service technicians, and a knowledgeable parts and accessory staff to support you. Go visit their friendly, reliable, and experienced staff now located only 6 miles north of I-10 at 34600 Highway 59 in Stapleton, Alabama, or give them a call at 251-937-1380. All right, Captain Richard, we got to do what did you learn before we get out of here today, man? What'd you pick up from today's show?
Man, I tell you, two of the things I really loved about Jacob Chandler's report today was I loved, he went out there with no bait whatsoever. Hey, I'm going to pull lures and I'm going to troll all day. And then that he kind of bounced around and moved, was moving, 5, 8, 10 miles, and that worked out very well for him, because like he said, he put baits in the water and started catching fish immediately right when he got around them, and that's how I like to think inshore wise, not so much offshore wise, but inshore wise. I love to think that way, is that there's always some biting fish somewhere, what I mean?
Right.
And you just got to move around and find them some days, so I really like that. And I really love that he picked up on the color, on the black and orange you could
tell he was paying attention to that.
Oh, big time. And I just love that he was paying attention to it, because a lot of people won't pay attention to something like that. And they find like some people find like you find like a little seam of success, and you got to start, that's what I always start doing is when I start catching fish or figure out a little something, start asking yourself the questions, why am I catching these fish? What is the difference on this rod right here, or that rod right there, or this setup, why is this, Shane Traylor and I were talking yesterday, and he was telling me about changing out hooks on a suspending bait, some lighter gauge hooks. He figured out with this suspending twitch bait that the lure would slowly rise and not just stay there or sink, you know what I mean? But that's what the fish wanted some days, like, golly, I'd have never thought about all that, and I feel like I'm paying attention to a lot, but man, but how far you break it down sometimes, I think is how successful you're going to be.
That's what makes a great fisherman.
Yeah, asking yourself those questions. Why did I get those bites? Why did those fish bite? And a lot of
details,
it's where
man.
you are.
The details.
Yeah, a lot of it's where you are.
You got to be around fish, and you can't. If there's no fish there, you can't catch them, and that's a fact.
Yeah, but what about you, man? What you like about today's report?
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed Jacob's report as well. That was a cool addition. A couple of things I picked up from him was the directional birds, kind of spreading out his baits, without the use of outriggers. I think he got him some recently, so we'll have to stay tuned to see how those work out for him. But man, you gotta make the best of what you got. If you don't have any outriggers, he figured out those directional birds, pull those baits out. He was covering another 60 foot of water or so with those directional birds instead of just going straight back into the prop wash. That's a big deal.
It is, and
he's having success with it. The other thing I picked up from your report was staying on the move right now. I know that might change going into the weekend, so sorry about that, listeners, but we can't help that. But staying on the move right now, it makes sense with the hot, spreading them out. Just stay on the move and pick them off.
Yeah, that's right. And kind of what I didn't cover in the inshore report too, that you just made me think about, is when they do bunch up, wherever you are catching some fish right now, you just need to kind of focus on those little bit more, what I'm going to call stable areas, which is a little bit of some deeper water around wherever you're catching fish right now, is where those fish are going to find themselves. And then it's probably going to take a day or two, we're recording on Wednesday. We got this front coming through. It's going to get a little bit cold tonight, pretty cold Thursday night. And then probably by about the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, everything should start to kind of stabilize back out. We're not going to have a crazy amount of wind and not a crazy drop in temperature. It's only kind of going into the looks like the lower 40s. It's not going into the 30s by any means. So that's when you start to see that shock, when the fish are almost lethargic. You'll get bites, man, and they don't even fight. You know what I mean? They just kind of wiggle their head back and forth a little bit while you're reeling them in.
Just drag them to the boat.
I don't think we're going to see that, but you are going to see them kind of pull out of some of the shallower areas and kind of want to find themselves in some of the deeper parts of these tidal rivers. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, me too. I was looking for the weather on Monday. It looks pretty good. I was looking, it's going to be like 41, to start out, and then 61 to finish up. So that's about perfect for me.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that Jacob said that I liked was, it seems elementary, but man, if you think you want a new boat, find somebody that has that boat and charter that guy. You can really get a feel for the boat, what it's capable of, how it fishes. That's a great idea. That's a great tip.
Yeah, and I tell you the other thing too about that is there's probably a hell of a lot less pressure in buying a boat situation to pay somebody who knows the boat and works in it every day versus going and getting salesmen to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing against my man John Page over there at L&L.
No doubt.
I know he's listening, but that provides a completely different experience and
different perspective
on a boat versus sitting on one at the trailer or even sea trialing one and whatnot. Actually getting to go and fish on one, what I mean?
Well, and he knows the pros and cons, like, oh man, I wish that live well was a little bigger, or I love this boat, but I wish, this or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Most of the time from a working captain, I would assume you'd probably get a pretty honest.
Oh yeah, I would think so.
A pretty honest review on the boat and whatnot. So I've had several people do that with me over the years, and there's some of my favorite people taken. Most of them end up buying a boat.
Yeah.
As a result of it.
Yeah. I don't know how you could fish on that 25 contender and not want one.
Contender's got a few new things coming down the pipe to look out for too. I think I probably hinted at it to you a little bit, but be real interesting to see what happens come in a couple of months when we get into the spring here, right around boat show season. See what unveils.
See what pops up.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Heck yeah. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by the East Tennessee Fishing Show and Expo. The East Tennessee Fishing Show and Expo is back January 26th through the 29th at the Knoxville Expo Center on Clinton Highway. EastTennesseeFishingShow.com. More dealers, more vendors, more exhibits than ever before, all under one roof. We got bass, crappie, trout, walleye. If you fish, don't miss the latest fishing gear, equipment, and apparel. Also custom tackle, lures, rods, and reels, and more. January 26th through 29th, $12 for adults, $8 for kids, 5 and under are free. Tickets are available online or at the door. There's also free parking. Learn more at EastTennesseeFishingShow.com. And also brought to us by CCA Alabama, a great way to support conservation projects like the Claude Petite Flounder and Speckled Trout Hatchery in the University of South Alabama Cobia Tagging Project is through the purchase of a distinctive CCA Alabama Saltwater Fishing license plate. You guys head over to Alabama Department of Revenue's distinctive license plate page at revenue.alabama.gov to get yours. All right, man, that's a good report. I appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, Butch, man, it was great being on here with you. I enjoy it. As always, thank you for having me, and look forward to the next one.
Absolutely, man. I'll see you Monday.
Yes, sir. Ready to jerk some lips.
That's right. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up this week. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. We'll talk to y'all next week.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report brought to you by me, Angelo DiPaola, The Coastal Connection. Find us online at thecoastalconnection.com.
And also brought to you by Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588. Also brought to you by MB Ranch King. MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last, right here in the USA. They offer high-quality, easy-to-use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection. And also brought to you by Test Calibration. Test Calibration is your source for sales and service of diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratindieselandturbo.com. Also brought to you by Hilton's Real-Time Navigator, bringing you the highest quality online satellite fishing chart since 2004. Your source for sea temps, altimetry, currents, and watercolor at hiltonsoffshore.com. And also brought to you by Fish Bites. Since 1999, Carr Specialty Baits, Inc. has been busy revolutionizing the fishing industry with their game-changing brand of baits and lures called Fish Bites. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. And also brought to you by Killer Dock. Killer Dock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. Killer Dock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit killerdock.com to see more. And also brought to you by National Land Realty. If you're in the market to sell your land, check out the fastest growing, most innovative land brokerage in the country at nationalland.com. Also brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. Also by Mallard Bay Outdoors. Book your next guided hunting or fishing trip with thoroughly vetted guides or charters. Built by sportsmen for sportsmen. MallardBay.com.